The girl lay beside the bed where her mother was, dying alive in front of her, her thin, rotting hands and feet alive. The mother told the girl with the last of her strength that she would have to leave, and take back the paper she had given her. She is her little girl, her very beloved little girl. It was as if the woman's heart was slowly sinking. In the girl's memory the woman always shone with beauty and health, and when she called out in her gentle voice to hug her, all the girl's fears vanished. She still remembers her first birth. At first her mother looked at her, dying with fear of illness. Her eyes were full of tears and despair. The girl thought it was the end. But later, when she found herself in her mother's arms again, could she find the words to convey her feelings? But every time she whispered words of love in her ear, and remembered that she had put all her heart and soul into them for 7 years. However, it seemed to the girl that her mother was sometimes lonely. Perhaps she remembered her when she was her first daughter. And now the girl feels the same fear for her mother, who will be alone forever. Being the first and also the second daughter, she is very grateful that she was her mother twice. The paper with the spell her mother gave her, pointing the way north, she doesn't know how long she wandered, or where the paper was leading her. But she does know that her mother was a sorceress. So they had to search for a long time to find a place where they could be safe. When the girl fell asleep in the storm, she was awakened by a man who thought the girl was lost in the woods, so he decided to take her to the settlement. He decided to take the girl to the doctor and they would find somewhere to sleep for the night. The girl didn't want to trust the stranger as her mother had taught her so. The stranger decided to take the girl to a doctor he knew and she would not have to pay money for it. The stranger knew the girl's mother. She was beautiful, said the stranger. He will take her to her mother after the doctor has cured her. It is very cold and windy outside, so she needs to take shelter. The girl felt the same warmth that was coming from her mother. When the girl woke up she saw that the stranger had the same color hair as her. She remembered her mother telling her that she had to be careful not to let people notice what color her hair was, because she could be sold if she fell into the wrong hands. The stranger assured the girl that she needn't worry. The stranger asked the girl if by any chance her mother's name was Ariel. The girl confirmed this information. The boy was very happy. He had finally found her. He was her father. He had been looking for her for a very long time. He had had different thoughts. However, now he is truly happy. He will explain the rest later. However, she needs to know what her father really is. At that moment, the girl felt only one thing, that when she met her father, she wanted to fill him with accusations and ask him why he only appeared now. But she did not have the guts to say so, because it felt as if her father had been hurt so badly. The girl wants to know what kind of man he is. Strangely, every time her father strokes her she gets goosebumps. Perhaps it is because she has never met anyone else but her mother. Sometimes her mother would take her with her to the less crowded places and shield her from the outside world. The girl's father looked for her for a long time, but when he came home he saw Ariel lying there breathless. At that moment he couldn't think of anything. When he came to his senses he found a piece of paper next to the woman with a spell cast on it. Then he drove towards the direction indicated on the paper, thinking that this was his last chance to find the girl. However, before he could drive into the forest, the paper was carried away by the wind in his hands. He will tell everything in detail when they get home. There are so many stories he would like to tell, that is. The girl thought the story of her time with her mother would be of great interest to her father. In a world where only the two of them existed, the child's father was approached by a servant asking who the girl was. To which the boy replied that the girl was a princess and was going to the palace. The girl remembers her mother telling her that the emperor has 3 horrible sons and that the empress died several years ago. So her mother is a concubine? A commoner who would get the emperor's favor? No, thought the girl. She can't be a commoner. The girl's memories are crumbly, but she's sure she wasn't a commoner when she was first born. Then why did her mother run away when she was carrying the baby? Perhaps because her fathers are different, from past and present lives. She doesn't know that much. If her mother isn't a concubine, then she's an illegitimate child. The girl thought that the emperor's children would hate her. The thought of it made her shiver. Maybe she would get along with them. But she had nowhere else to go, so she would be glad she could live somewhere already. So she'd better hope she doesn't get kicked out. An identical man to the girl's father entered the carriage. He has not yet prepared a palace for Serena. So for a while she would live with him in the palace of the sun. That would be in about 7 years. But she looks so weak and tiny that it feels as if a breeze could blow her away. The girl, though asleep, heard their words. She remembers her mother saying lovingly that she needed to grow slowly, like a young tree being watered day by day. Thanks to her endless love, she was bathed in the rays of happiness. The girl's father thinks that when she arrives at the palace her first priority will be to meet the imperial healers and the chief cooks. For now they need to sleep well, the siren is finally at her father's side and there is no need to worry about anything and nothing. The girl dreamt that she was with her mother at the same time and went to look at the blooming spring flowers. She was very fond of the ones that were similar to the shade of the girl's hair. In the summer they would fan each other to escape the heat. And in autumn they would collect fallen leaves and try to bake yams, which almost ended in a fire. But in winter the girl had no friends, so her mother made buddies out of snow. These are all precious memories that she can only see in her dreams. After all, her mother told her that although she would be lonely and sad without her, she needed to know that she was not alone and she never needed to forget that there were people in this world who loved and trembled for her. Could the girl really be loved by anyone else? The girl woke up, she saw an exact replica of herself sitting next to her father. This young man had the same eyes and pink hair. She did not know how to behave with a man she was seeing for the first time. Father introduced Parnisha. This was the crown prince of the empire and her eldest brother. Parnisha was very pleased to meet the girl. He introduced himself to her as Theo Ursel Levisham. From now on, he would be her big brother. And the family members call him Theo. The boy's smile was so good, as if a radiant sun had descended from heaven. He looked like a prince from a fairy tale, but the girl got the feeling that this guy didn't like her. Was her assumption wrong? His hair shimmered like a jewel. Such a stately man is her elder brother. Compared to him the girl is not so superior. Father and son considered the color of the girl's hair and it was simply superb. Her hair color was more delicate than theirs. It felt as if spring had blossomed on their little one's head. Theo warned the girl that she had two other brothers with a similar shade of hair. And they are looking forward to meeting her. And it wouldn't be long before she could see them, but the girl shuddered at the thought. She was surprised to find someone waiting for her. Entering the palace, the two brothers were already waiting near the entrance. One of them had long hair and violet eyes and the other had scarlet eyes and ruffled hair like he was a kitten. The boys were very pleased to meet the girl. The long-haired brother's name was Lurin Arpachi Levisham, but she could address him simply as Rain. And the third brother's name is Trade Levisel Levisham, but she can call his sibling Trail. All the brothers are so beautiful and kind, they are like angels. The father is tired to death. The child is very tired. To begin with, they will go inside and talk after resting. The brothers kept looking at the girl and could not stop admiring her beauty and sweetness. Serena, the little girl, was very worried about whether her brothers liked her and what impression they had of her. Today they will have to tell the manager of the kitchen at the Imperial Palace to prepare meat of the highest quality. First the girl has to collect her belongings. One of the brothers joked about the girl having one bite of meat in her. Serena thought they were going to eat her. That's why they were so polite to her the first time they met, so she thought she needed to be as quiet as possible from now on. The father sat down in his seat. The girl realized that she needed to be as quiet as possible at times like this. The chair looked very comfortable. If you sit down in it, it was like sitting on a cloud. Three brothers were sitting parallel to the girl and were just eating the girl with their eyes. The girl was offered to sit on one of the chairs. It turned out to be very comfortable. The brothers wanted to make the girl more comfortable. Serena was taught by her mother to be grateful for what she was given. So she doesn't ask them for anything, she wants to thank them. The brothers were worried about why the Imperial healer was so late. After a little longer and the healer finally arrived. He greeted the son of the Empire. He was asked to check on the girl. He asked if he could ask the girl some questions that she would answer honestly. The girl was ready to answer honestly. The healer asked the girl what she usually ate. She replied that she ate mashed potatoes and vegetables. Sometimes she ate red fruit ripening in autumn, and also bread bought by her mother and some meat. Well, there were days when she only ate once and twice too. The girl probably got frostbite. So she'll need to take the medicines the doctor will prescribe and keep her feet and hands warm for the first time. She's growing slower than her peers, but that's only because she's been eating less food per day than the norm, and there's no big problem here. Her diet was much better than His Majesty had anticipated. Her father just wanted to check on her well-being, but fortunately the girl did not appear to have any serious health problems. Serena looked down sadly. She was frustrated as her father didn't have to take care of such little things. She wouldn't have wanted him to look at her with such fondness and say such warm words. Maybe every time he acted like this, the girl felt her mother's absence even more clearly. The girl woke up when her hair was being brushed. The servant turned to her and assured her that it was all right. The girl did not need to speak to her so respectfully. She can safely address her by you, for example, I am grateful to you. But the girl was taught by her mother that she should speak respectfully to adults. However, a woman's status is lower than that of a princess, so she doesn't need to be addressed as you. The girl didn't know how she should respond in such situations. She had never spoken to other people before. The girl was tidied up, her hair just glistening. The maids were simply delighted with her beauty. When the princess grows up in the future, she will be the most beautiful person in the empire. In the whole empire. She will be the most brilliant and beautiful lady of the empire, it is no doubt. His Highness and the princes are waiting. Serena was very warm and comfortable in her clothes. She could safely enjoy life in a place like this without her mother. But without her mother she was lonely. How could she ever live alone? The day her mother left the girl, she felt that the world had come to an end. She was afraid that she would be cold and scared all alone. But when she met her father at that moment, she suddenly broke free from the shackles of the permafrost. In an unfamiliar place full of bright light and joy. It's a warm and cozy feeling. She felt like that when her mother hugged her and tried to protect her. She felt as if she had known the boys for a long time. As she sat down at the table, the girl was simply amazed at how much food was on the table. The girls needed to eat more today. Rain thought about how nice the girl was and repeated just that thought in her head. On the table the girl saw many appliances and what she was confused and did not know how to use them. The girl put one of the dishes and she liked it. The girl thanked her father for the food. The father also decided to thank the girl and ask her forgiveness for having to face so much hardship alone. And for expecting her father to come and for not being able to protect her mother. She has to forgive her father for coming too late. The girl will be familiar with the feelings of helplessness when one cannot do anything. Nevertheless, her father did not give up and kept looking for them. Serena is the only one who is saddened by her mother's death. At that moment the girl cried and her father hugged her. She missed her mother very much. The father could not say a word when he saw the girl crying, because he knew the reason for her tears. Theo asked his father where the woman lived, for he is no longer the little boy he used to be. He had a right to know. That woman lived in a wretched hut. She had left a letter. Now the curse hanging over Serena is broken. So there's only one thing they have to do. Protect the girl so it never happens again. A girl who is encased in the green of the forest, illuminated by the sun's rays. But the child who was supposed to receive everyone's love doesn't seem to be used to human companionship. What they think is quite natural, for her it's the opposite. A child who knows nothing, has had to deal with so much adversity alone. The girl needs to strengthen herself physically and mentally. In the dream the girl saw a past memory of her life. Where her mother was screaming for her to look at her, that was her memory when she was born as the first daughter. She had heard that her mother was not allowed to use magic in that state. There was someone else here besides them and he looked like her father. The man she had seen in her dream reflected such pain, as if he were the one who had been wounded. First the girl had to wash her face and then think about it again. Ariel came into the room and greeted the girl with a good morning greeting. The lad saw the girl fall, so he asked to get the imperial healer immediately. Her nose was bleeding, but the brother looked as if he was 100 times worse. Her father came into the room and in a formidable voice asked what had happened here. The boy explained that he had carelessly opened the door, thus accidentally hitting the girl. Serena lost count of how many times the imperial healer they summoned repeated that there was nothing wrong with her. And once all the inquiries were finished she was finally able to have breakfast with her family. After all, it was all right if she kept what had happened a secret from the other brothers. At the table the brothers were discussing the incident in which the girl had hurt herself. They had not expected such a thing from her brother. Her father ordered the boys to tear down all the doors of the imperial palace so that such things would not happen again. The girl heard that they don't like children born out of wedlock. But is it okay if she gets so much love? And should she give something in return too? The brothers asked what the girl's favorite color was, because it determines what color her palace will be, to which the girl replied pink. They all repeated that they liked pink too. Lorraine motioned for the girl to show her the palace. Its light was simply stunning. Taking the girl by the hand, he walked her to the garden. The reason it is warm in the garden is because magic is used here. There is a magic spell put on the garden that keeps the air warm so that all these flowers can delight the eye with their beautiful blooms. The girl asked the boy why he was treating her with such kindness, since she was an illegitimate daughter. The boy refuted this information, for her mother was an empress, so in her veins flows the purest blood of the imperial family. She is a blood sister of Theo and Trail and vice versa. The girl decided to ask the boy to elaborate on what was going on here. Well, he replied that he has no right to say anything and that soon her father will tell her everything she wants to know. Because of the boy she might find it difficult. The girl would have liked to ask some more questions. But Lorraine looked too sad. A third brother came running to them. He came back very quickly from training. The boy asked for the girl to give him a hug too. To which she held out her arms with a smile. From the trail came the scent of a fresh breeze. Lorraine was able to capture any moment with magic so that it could be revisited at any time. So he is as magical as the girl's mother. And Trail, although he was not a magician, was a very strong knight and was now the commander of a knight squad. There was a bit of a commotion during dinner that day. While her father was slicing meat for the girl to eat in peace, Trail went up to the eldest brother and told him that Serena had called him brother today. And that the father and the elder brother got up and approached the girl. She wondered if she was not allowed to call the word brother. At this point there was such an anxious atmosphere. The elder brother also wanted to be called brother and not brother. And the father asked the girl to call her not just father, but dad, which sounds softer. The girl would be surprised that they were so grown up. Was she really allowed to call them that? Lorraine showed the boys a videosphere of the girl. The girl was asked if the food tasted good to her. It was delicious, she replied. As for the changes in the girl's daily behavior, from now on she sleeps with her father. The father was worried whether it was difficult for the girl to sleep alone. He was also worried that she could not sleep well in such a big room. He didn't want to leave her alone, so they would sleep together. Could the girl tell the man with such despair in her mind anything? At that moment, her brothers changed a lot in their faces. Evening came and it was time to go to bed. The girl was very embarrassed because her father was wearing thin clothes so he could easily catch cold. Nevertheless, it was getting late, so it was time for the little children to go to bed. The father said good night to the girl and they went to bed. The man remembered how the empress had cried out that the curse could not be born as a disease. She could not calm down as everyone wanted to kill her child. The man promised the woman that he would solve the problem and not let their child die. He would find a way to dispel the curses, so he asked her not to cry. The woman didn't understand what was so bad about the child. It would have been better if the curse had fallen on her than on the child. The father cradled the child in his arms and said that she woke up very early. Perhaps she could sleep some more as he had heard that prolonged sleep was good for growth. But the girl's look from her father made all sleep vanish. It was more dazzling than the morning sun. The older brother asked the girl if she was uncomfortable with the change of scenery. But she replied that she felt good because she had slept, and she asked him how her brother had slept, to which he replied that he too had slept. They were met by two other brothers who were very happy to see them, and wished the girl good morning. He wanted very much to hold the girl in his arms all day long, but it might be uncomfortable for her. Every second spent with her is precious to him, so he does not want to leave even a millimeter. The girl thought at this point that how can he say such things, because when he looks at her with that expression on his face, she has absolutely no idea how she should react. They all sat down at the table together and began to eat. The girl noticed that the brothers began to behave strangely and were devouring each other with their glances, and so the cozy and at the same time uncomfortable breakfast came to an end. The father did not notice the brothers' glances or simply ignored them as an emperor should. The girl was walking in the garden with her little brother. The boy asked the girl if she was comfortable sitting in this position on her father's lap. The girl wondered if her brother also wanted to sit on her father's lap. But suddenly her brother said that he could sit on his lap too. He had softer legs than her father. So next time at a meal, if the girl feels like it, she can sit on her brother's lap. It's girls, apparently all members of the imperial family know how to use that expression. That day, at dinner, and had to endure those frightening looks. The girl was asleep. She was in great pain and terribly anguished, calling out for her daddy and mummy. But at one point she woke up with dreams of her past life becoming clearer and clearer. She has no idea why her mum and dad have had such a hard time because of her. In her memories, she is as desiccated as her mother. Well, kind of like if she infected that curse on her mum and she is haunted by the words, said Lorraine. If she falls asleep, will she still be able to see something from her past? It was very interesting. And if she had that terrible dream again, what should she do? The father saw how the girl could not sleep. The girl had a question. She wanted to ask what her mother was like in her father's eyes. The man couldn't even find the best words to use to describe her. To him she was his happiness. Her mother was strong, beautiful, and always dazzling. And among other things, she was a powerful archmage. There was no greater mage in the empire than her mother. She was a great person. The girl asked him to tell more about her mother, for the girl could remember almost nothing of her past life. The man shrieked. He was very surprised to hear her say this. The girl thought she had made her father angry, but he began to reassure her. A child who remembers her past life now. Her father surely hates her. She thought so. Anything to be angry with her. She would tell what was happening to her. So she told the super secret that's been hidden all this time. In her chaotic memories from her past life about her mum and dad who were in a lot of pain from her illness. About how opening her eyes, she was a little girl again and meeting her mum, who at the first meeting told the girl to say mummy. The man upset the girl because it was not a memory from a past life. Serena was born now. She was not born the second time. Her mother used magic, brought her back to a time when she was not yet cursed. So it turns out she is their first daughter. He can't even imagine how scared she was while she kept those memories a secret from others. He should have felt what was going on in her heart earlier, so he too apologizes for keeping the secret from her. They need to tell it to her brothers, too. After all, her mother said there should be no secrets in the family circle. Her father asked that the princes be brought to his room immediately. The brothers very quickly arrived or the room. After listening to them, the elder brother seemed to understand why Irina's memory was confused. Her father thought that the 5-year-old must have erased some of her memories when time went backwards. Now that they have removed the situation, the father should tell the girl the whole story. He is not sure if he will finish by dawn, but everyone is ready to listen to him. The first thing he has to tell about the Lorraine may be hard for him to listen to, but is all right because his family is there for him. The story goes back to when they first met that girl, long before he was born. Her name was Ariel. Despite coming from a common people, she was a sorceress with strong magical powers left by the mother of the imperial palace. She continued to improve and earned the title of archmage. She was a beautiful woman with a good heart who was always looking out for the safety of people. Giving her boyfriend invaluable support in his work to unite the empire, she continued to court him without end. Knowing his mother's temperament, his older brother Theo had a hard time with his father. After all, he'd been chasing her for 2 years. He wouldn't give up and kept on courting, but every time he got nothing but rejection. It wasn't that he didn't understand her feelings, but he was desperate. It was the first time in his life that he'd ever met a man he wanted to possess completely. It wasn't long before it was announced that Ariel would be the next empress. But there was no objection. The people of the empire celebrated the wedding and toasted to their union. Their first son Theo had his happy moments. And exactly 1 year later, he and his wife found out about the existence of the Lorraine. Her father was sitting in his study. And Ariel went in to see him because she wanted to talk about what she had heard during the tea party. She was worried about. The Marquis of Padon was the only blood relative in this world. He had not inherited the pink hair of the ruling dynasty. His personal qualities left in all respects, so he could not ascend to the throne. Also, the Marquis was a dangerous man with boundless ambition. The boy heard the news that he had tried in every way to solve the problem of succession, but in 5 years of marriage the Marquis' wife had never managed to have a child. So it didn't matter if the father of the illegitimate child would choose the child as his successor, and it was very unfortunate for the child, and the wounds he had suffered because of the negative reaction of the nobility. But it was also said that that child had pink hair. The fact that the Marquis's family had a baby with pink hair became a hot topic of discussion in secular society. An illegitimate child not belonging to the imperial family has pink hair. This alone makes him valuable material for those plotting a rebellion. That is why the man should meet his older brother. The father was waiting in his office for the Marquis. It was addressed to him that the Marquis was already waiting, so the man said let him come into the office. The Marquis greeted and sat down. He asked why he had been summoned to such an insignificant man as he was. But the Marquis guessed that it might be his illegitimate son. Funny, because the Marquis despises children born out of wedlock, but had enlisted one as his heir. Of course, the man congratulates the Marquis on the birth of his nephew, but even if he wishes for the child's happiness, He finds it pleasant that his wishes will come true. He is also concerned that his nephew has the label of illegitimate child on his back. And being his father, he will have to set an example so that no one can disturb the child's peace of mind. The father asks his servants to investigate the Marquis' correspondence, to find out about the child's biological mother, the state of the Marquis' residence at the moment, and to find out what movements the Marquis has made recently and with whom he has been in close contact. He'll give us 2 weeks to do that. So Lorraine's biological mother is a maid at the Marquis's residence. Once spending the night with the Marquis, the woman became pregnant, and is presumed to have died of severe bleeding after giving birth. Lately the Marquis has been frequently corresponding with other noblemen. He plans to organize treason using the child. So far this is only a supposition. The man has insufficient evidence. We must continue to monitor the Marquis. As the man lay beside Ariel, they discussed the whole situation. The woman was surprised that the child would stay with the Marquis. The man assured her that there was no other choice. He had no worthy excuse to take the child under his protection now. Ariel had a request for the boy. If suddenly the possibility of taking the Lorraine away came up, she would like him to enter the imperial palace as her son, meaning that she wanted to make him a member of the imperial family. After that, 5 years flew by during preparations for Theo's 7th birthday banquet. New news reached the man's ears. The report stated that the Marquise was pregnant, that she might be carrying a son under her heart. So 6-year-old Lauren, who had been lovingly neglected all along, was being abused. It was finally time to take care of the baby. Theo was congratulated on his birthday. He loved the presents his parents had given him. Ariel realized that among the huge crowd of people there must be Lorraine standing somewhere. They saw this boy, only a year younger. Theo, but so small. He is as much a parent as a man. How can you treat a child like that, Marquis? The man approached the Marquis and started a dialogue with him. The man asked what the Marquis wants to make his heir. He knows that the man has invested a lot of effort to raise the Lorraine as his successor. But wouldn't it be better if the heir should be a lawborn son? And by happy coincidence, he has already marked the child in his mother's womb as his future heir. So the man is going to make the Lorraine part of the imperial family. The Marquis must be out of his mind if he dares to talk such nonsense. He has done this to his child. Isn't that why his child looks so skinny and miserable? Because it is hard for the Marquis to be responsible for him. It is just that the child is very fussy from birth and does not want to eat much, as they say in the Marquis residence. And in the imperial palace the head of the kitchen is not maid and their table is full of various dishes. Lorraine turned to Theo. Isn't it boring for him to be alone in such a place? The man can't sleep well lately because the child who is so exhausted keeps standing in front of his eyes. The Empress also gave her permission for Lorraine to be taken under the patronage of the imperial family. The Marquis replied that he needed time to give an answer. But the man did not give the impression of being an extreme patient man. He did not ask his opinion. He did not say that he wanted to make him part of the imperial family, but that he was going to make him a member of the imperial family. Marquis needs to watch his behavior. He does not need to make him speculate on what the man should do at the next dinner party. Apart from the fact that today is his son Theo's birthday, he has another piece of happy news that he wishes to share with people. He has been told that the Marquise is pregnant and that his elder brother's legitimate baby will soon be born, so he publicly congratulates him. And he too will have a member of the family. His nephew, the Marquis' fervent favorite, will become part of the imperial family, and henceforth he will bestow on him the name Lorraine Arpachi Le Washan. Ariel ran over to the boys. She only got a glimpse and the boy had already clenched into a ball of fear. If a child assessed a mere glance as a danger, she was afraid to imagine herself what he was just going through. She hugged him and said quietly that they were now one family. At that time the boy was very weak. Even now, when his father recalls those days, his heart sinks with pain. Fortunately, when he started living with them, his condition quickly improved. Theo's older brother taught the boy to write and helped him get out of the habit of talking. Trail started school with Lorraine. Was not that good at learning. In those days they told Lorraine to call him and Ariel mommy and daddy. The day came when a girl was born. Only one of the brothers was the most excited about the birth of a girl. And that was Lorraine. Of course, when the girl met him again, nothing had changed. But as a child, the boy often played with the girl. Day after day, the boy played with the girl. Those were beautiful days, but the Marquis visited the imperial palace on the pretext that he wanted to see the Lorraine. and each time he tried to find an excuse to send the boy back to him. By the time Serena was 5 years old, their family's happy days, which they thought would last forever, were shattered in the blink of an eye by a single incident involving the Marquis rebellion. When Ariel came out of the palace with the girl, daggers were thrown at her, but with magic she managed to defend herself. It was an assassination attempt. The woman does not know what guild he is from, but his choice fell on an opponent he cannot match. Or he is a fool who did not see who the empress of this country is. The little girl did not see anyone. Ariel understood that the stranger was hiding. It seemed to Ariel that the man was using magic when he threw the knives, not physical force. But she didn't understand why she didn't feel any magical power coming from him. He wields unusual magic. Lorraine approached Ariel from behind. The woman shouted at him to stay back, but in the same instant he was attacked. The woman was set up to be hit, but because she was injured, Serena was stolen away by a stranger. Now it was time to decide on the title of Crown Prince. The stranger must have wanted to cast a spell or kill all members of the imperial family excluding Lorraine. The stranger used dark magic. It was enough to use a curse on the little girl. Ariel must watch her daughter die in agony. When the stranger had accomplished his mission, he came to the Marquis, who was celebrating his victory. But at the same moment Ariel was moved to them. Because the stranger had a tattoo of dark sorcery on his body, she was able to use it to figure out the trail. They hadn't expected a woman so powerful. What a woman she is when she goes into full-on warfare. They dared to disturb her without knowing what was what. This is the true face of the Empress. The woman approached the stranger who had cursed the girl. She offered him a deal. If he would lift the curse, she would show her mercy. But the man didn't want to tell her how to break the curse. After these words, the woman killed him. The Marquis still thought that he would become the future emperor. But the woman convinced him that it wasn't because of his hair color that he was hated. It is because he considers people as things. He cannot forget who can die, if it is death that can satisfy his lust for power. Now because of him a total end awaits his whole family. Neither his son nor his wife at all will be able to get out of here alive. The Marquis begged for mercy. But he himself had missed his chance. The father blamed himself that his little daughter had suffered because of his quarrels with his brother. He should have killed the Marquis from the start. After that incident, he searched the entire empire to find a way to break the curse. However, the existence of dark sorcerers was rare, and few people knew of their existence at all. Besides, in some way, word spread with the speed of light throughout the empire that the princess was putting a curse on the entire country. Only at present only the imperial family knows that Serena has been cursed. So it must be the work of the surviving remnants of the Marquis' predecessors. Although at the moment his daughter is cursed, he is the emperor and her father. Unable to do anything about it. Ariel sat over the girl's cot. She could not calm down in any way, and the man tried to coax her to do so. The woman was worried because everyone wanted to kill her baby. The man promised that he would find a way to reverse the curse, so he asked her not to cry. He asked that his love be placed in his hands. He would surely protect both the children and her. And the negative reactions of the nobility were directed towards the imperial family. One day a man read a letter which said, "Forgive me, I will surely come back to you." So Ariel took the girl with her and disappeared. From that day on, the man searched all over the world for the girl and her mother. As soon as he heard a rumor that in some place similar people had been seen, he would go there at once. In time his impatience turned to deafening longing. But he endured excruciating feelings, drawing pictures in his mind that somewhere they both now lived and smiled, and firmly believed in such thoughts. So 7 years flew by. Even on the day they met, he was also going back without being able to find them. At that moment he heard her voice. He asked her to stop the carriage immediately, hoping that what he heard was not a hallucination. He desperately ran in that direction and felt Ariel's magic. But when he walked into the cabin he was stunned. He found Ariel's diary in the empty house. To be precise, it was a report of research related to her curse. Time was flowing away like water and our young body continued to be tormented by the curse. So Ariel chose the last possible option. To transfer her curse to her own body. Just because the curse only affected living things, she used her own life. That's why she's the mother of 4 children. And with Ariel's remaining magical power, she reversed time, brought the girl's body back to life. He doesn't know what really happened. They thought she didn't remember anything. And Papa and her brothers must have been very sad, but they kept to themselves because of her. There was nothing else to hide from her. Whether it's sadness or pain, they have to share it together. Because they are family. Father stood by the window and thought about why Ariel chose herself over him. It would have been better if he had suffered. Every time he thought about it, that she alone had the unavoidable feeling of fear. Trying to save their child, his heart breaking with pain. If he had given up when she was rejected the first time, perhaps she would be happy now. Even if there was regret left in his soul, he would not miss the second chance she had given him. The maid saw the princess running and warned her to be careful as she might trip and fall, but the girl assured her that she was protected by 4 persons, the father being the emperor of a great state who is very busy, the second busiest, the oldest brother the crown prince Theo, an eminent imperial mage, her second eldest brother Lorraine, and despite her young age, the commander of the 1st Night Squadron, her third eldest brother Trail. These men are a special family with whom she shares her second life. The child's father pampered her with a cake with lemon syrup. The brothers had dared to be late for lunch, which Serena waited for with such patience, he simply has no words for. So the father suggested that the girl should not wait for them and still eat first, as there was no need to wait for the brothers. It was their problem that they were late for lunch. But the girl was special, she didn't want to eat alone, she wanted to wait for her brothers and be with them as one big family. It was a happy routine until one man disappeared. The brothers came and apologized for being late. Trail, he was busy preparing a detachment for a military expedition. His squad would deal with the band of outlaws who were operating on the frontiers of the empire. Now because of them he will have to leave the castle for a month. The first unit defending the empire will have to become even stronger. The girl sat upset and her brothers noticed this, for there was no cake with lemon syrup on the table. Her father slapped the table and said that all the cakes in the kitchen would now be brought in. But that same day the girl's stomach twisted very badly. Her brothers were very worried about her. He went to the doctor and the doctor said that the girl had a common cold. At her age all children get sick often. He would give her medicine. If she takes the medicine systematically with meals, she will recover quickly. And even if the princess refuses to take the medicine because of its bitter taste, she must still be treated. Her father took care of her all day long. She loved spending time with her father, but she did not want to take the medicine. Thanks to her family's sensitive care, she made a full recovery in just 3 days. Although her family regretted that they would no longer have to take care of the girl, nevertheless, they said they were much happier to see her blooming with health. Brother Trail couldn't keep away from the girl for a month, so she ran to the girl to grab her while the girl was sick. Her brother's departure date approached. Starting tomorrow she would not see her brother for a whole month. The brother assured the girl that he would return very soon and for her the month would pass unnoticed. He is very strong and no one can hurt him. He would return unharmed as soon as possible. Because her brother had replied with tears in his eyes, her excitement for him had increased. At last the two of them took a final walk. When it was time for the trailer to leave, Serena promised him that when he came back they would have another good time. Her father saw how sad the girl was. He asked what was wrong with her. She was very much worried about her brother. Strong is he. Brother is still young, but he has already become a commander who is stronger than any other knight. He's 15 years old. You wouldn't know it from his height. Theo and Lorraine weren't that tall at his age. Perhaps this is the result of a desperate desire for Trail. He trained from the last of his strength. He had to grow faster like his brothers, and get stronger, when he would be able to defend his mother and sister. His father recalled these words as if they had been spoken yesterday. The girl asked him to say something more about his brothers. Theo is now 19. He became crown prince at 13 and was in charge of state affairs. His coming-of-age ceremony is about to take place. For the lad it's both a joy and a sad event. Lorraine is 18 years old. He is studying magic with the wizards of the Imperial Palace. Among their family members, the boy is the only one with a talent for magic. Sometimes he also helps his father and Theo with their duties, and his sweet little daughter loves fresh fruit more than sweets. She tends to be finicky about food, so it's a bit difficult for him to decide what she wants. Although walking in the fresh air is useful, it seems necessary for the girl to do more active sports. The girl is still too young for hard sports and training. The father thinks it would be better to start with exercises to develop the fine muscles. The next day Train was getting ready to leave. It would be very humiliating for the knight commander to suffer at the hands of a gang of outlaws. The father hoped the boy would return without any embarrassing injuries. The girl cried at the boy's departure. Her brother turned to her and asked her to look him straight in the eye, for the girl had promised to walk with him as soon as he returned. Let her not forget that. He would come back, with a bullet, so she need not cry. The boy's gone. When you're sad, sweet is the best solution. So Serena was crying because of that lousy trailer, her father thought. The girl really wanted to help her brother who had left, even though he promised he would be back soon. The girl was suggested to write a letter to her brother if she was very worried about him. The servants were sure that His Highness would be very happy, and perhaps after seeing the letter he would even come back much sooner. This would be the first experience of writing a letter. The girl's father was very nervous about the trail getting a letter from the girl before him. The girl's letters are scattered in different directions, so it doesn't work out very well. The father offered to practice writing. The girl didn't have a hard time, but her handwriting does look strange, so she is a little embarrassed. If the girl had written the letter from her heart, her father thinks he would have been immensely happy. Her father is ready to drink the scent tea if it is even given to him by the girl. What is important in a letter is sincerity. So the girl tries to write. The girl asks if she can write a letter to her other brothers. Thinking about what to write, she ended up spending a whole day on it. She hoped that one day she would be able to express her sincere feelings in a letter with ease. The girl came to see her daddy with a letter in her hand. She did not stir slowly should His Majesty. The girl held out the letter to her father. She had come all this way to give him the letter in person. The girl wanted to hand it to him as soon as possible. She apologized for distracting the matter. The father offered not to stand there and go inside to have tea and read the letter. But the girl refused and said she would go for a walk in the garden and would be back soon. The father opened the letter. It said that the girl loved her father. The father rushed to the child, picked the child up and embraced her. The father expressed his emotions. He loves his daughter so much that it is impossible to put it into words. They will keep their conversation about the secret of her brother's hell. Afterwards it felt warm for her, as if she was still in her father's arms. It wasn't in the imperial palace that things flew by at an incredible speed. So a whole week had passed since the trail had left. The girl looked stronger day by day. The girl wanted to go to the yard son. She was very worried that the letter had not reached its destination. Or perhaps her brother was too busy. That's why he doesn't have time to write her back. She misses her brother. The girl heard children's voices and the servant suggested that the girl should go there and exchange greetings with them. She should be greeted first. According to the rules, the one who occupies a lower social position should be the first to say hello. This is the first time a girl has ever exchanged greetings with someone. So you have to say hello to her first, just like you should. A little boy said hello to a girl. His name is Jay Sparalo. Another little girl whose name was Fox Sparalo. The fox ran to the girl. She was just shocked at his how can be so beautiful. Besides, she can even smell the floral scent, and judging from her body, she cannot calm down when she is near such an indescribable beauty. The boy apologized for his sister, for she is not yet good enough at maintaining etiquette when dealing with strangers. Serena ran off, but before she did she said it was a pleasure to meet her. Jae-sun heard that the girl was 12 years old, but she looked very different. Their father approached them. They told him about the girl they had met. The children's father had heard that she must look younger than her peers by now. There are certain circumstances. He would like them to become good friends with the princess. The boy was surprised. Usually his father was indifferent to other people, but why now he behaved differently? The girl appealed to her father that she really liked the girl, because she was a very beautiful princess who would attend the tea party, so she would go too. Contrary to the rumors, Serena is not who he imagined her to be, but a member of the imperial family. But why all her emotions are clearly written on her face? A princess who is the same inside and out. An interesting character. Will the boy be able to get to know her better the next time they meet? That's what the girl decided. The fox could not understand that her mother had come here on purpose. Well, there wasn't even a princess at the tea party. That upset the girl. The princess who had been cursed disappeared and suddenly reappeared perfectly healthy. Though voices sounded that the curse has disappeared thanks to the love of God. However, there is a parallel rumor about the empress, caught in the act of harming others and taking her own life. As a consequence, the curse was broken. One of the girls thought that in this tea party the princess, who has suffered so much hardship, could find solace. Apparently the girl had gone too far, she thought. But the girl reckoned that perhaps the princess would not be entirely comfortable in such a place. Or perhaps there was still a curse on her body, so she could not leave the palace. The fox was very indignant at such words. and the girl had not seen the princess alive. She threw tea from the table, and a treat. The girl can't say anything when she hasn't seen her. What she said is enough to lose her head. You shouldn't open your mouth if they don't have any facts. The girls were shocked at the way the fox was talking to them. The girl turned around and walked away. No more she would have tea with them, or next time it would not be the teacup that was broken at all. The princess said she had received a letter. She very quickly rushed to her father's office to ask for this information. She went in and saw an unfamiliar man. His name is Ian Sperado. If you come by the title, he is the Archduke of the Empire. His son was talking about the little princess. And the man apologized for his daughter's rude behavior. The girl was embarrassed because, on the contrary, she had to thank him for showering her with such compliments. Before the Archduke went to the palace, his daughter went down to see her father. She also wanted to go and see the princess, but the man was going to apologize for his daughter's rude behavior, and he also had something to discuss with His Majesty. The father summoned his daughter to show her the letter that had passed to her from her brother. He gave her the letter and ordered her to go back to his room. The men continued their conversation, and the Archduke heard that there had been a misunderstanding at the tea party where the princess had been invited. He thought the atmosphere would lighten up a bit, but it was still the same. He had dealt with it personally. And by the way, his son His Majesty, and didn't listen to him and ordered him to leave. It finally snowed. When the girl met her daddy, there was so much snow too. The girl said her daddy was calling her. Daddy warned the girl not to be too frightened and to listen to him. Her brother Trail is missing. The knights are looking for him. It's going to be all right, girls, no need to cry. There was a similar situation before. 3 years ago the knights tracked the disappearance of the Trail. His Majesty ordered the search area to be widened. After all, the knights must find at least some trace of the prince. The 3-day search operation yielded no results. One night, he heard a sound in the kitchen, and his father found Trail who, sitting in the kitchen eating, had come by a shortcut. After that incident, he appeared several more times as if out of thin air, so safe and unharmed that his father even considered his excitement totally without reverence. So the girls needn't worry, this trailer will surely come back. As always, he did. When the girl fell asleep, the brothers asked your father how the search for your brother was going. Trail is still around the woods. He seems to have moved, his own footsteps behind him. But the wind is blowing hard now, so it is difficult to find any traces. Perhaps he is deliberately avoiding meeting people, and there is no progress in the search operation either. A few days more snow has fallen, the brother has not returned. The girl was very sad, but she realized that she should only think positively. The girl went out for a walk today. Their sweet little sister is waiting so patiently for her brother to return, but what is he doing? The brother is still not back. Instead of where they were walking, the chamois is covered completely with snow. 3 days before the Trail went missing. Knight turned to Trail. They had finished the mission, and maybe he was happy about it, but the guy was not himself. He was angry as he had promised his sibling to come back sooner. Suddenly the boys were attacked by a dark sorcerer. He looked like a little boy. Trail ordered that if he was not back by midnight, the knights must return to the imperial palace. Even though the dark sorcerer is small, the boy is not going to show mercy. If anyone has survived, he sees no problem in destroying the root of evil once more. The dark sorcerer was able to block the Trail attack. Apparently this boy has battle experience. Just how much he has managed to kill people. If you touch the black filth, you will be eaten. The dark sorcerer hid the Trail looking for him. Suddenly a dark clot appeared beneath the boy. Serena was walking in the garden at night and saw her brother. He told her not to worry because they would meet soon. The little girl ducked out of her bed in tears. She ran into the garden, but she didn't see anyone there. She fell off the ledge. She was caught by a trailer. The boy was holding a bound dark sorcerer with him. He was very dangerous, so for some time the girl did not have to take a step away from the Lorraine. The father had an angry face and said sarcastically that he was very happy to meet his son. Trail started making excuses that he was delayed because of the dark sorcerer. But no one listened to him, and Theo beat his brother. Apparently he lost consciousness. Theo went down to the dungeon. I sat shackled by the dark sorcerer. He knew where he was sitting. And if he continued to remain silent, only death awaited him. Regardless, the father was glad that his son was unharmed. So he should get some sleep, for he was probably tired. The boy will be under house arrest for a while anyway. If he leaves the room, his sentence will be extended. Lorraine used magic to enter the Trail room on his back with the girl. His father went down to Theo and ordered him to leave the dark sorcerer alone as he would now take care of this. The father asked what the child's name was. He was 13 years old and his name was Ian. He ran away with the demonic tower. He escaped because the members of the demonic tower see someone with the abilities of a dark sorcerer and so drag that person away with them. The boy and his body sought help, so he approached the night squad. After all, he had heard that the demonic tower could not disturb the empire. He was content even to remain imprisoned, he simply wanted to keep himself alive and stay here. If all the boy's words are true, you can look at his memories. Lorraine appeared in the dungeon, he asked not to be implicated. But at least the father wanted to know that boy's memories, so he needs his help. But the boy is still eaten from within by a thirst to kill the dark sorcerer, but they need this boy's abilities to protect his sister. His memories of the past are not pleasant. When he was 5 years old, he was taken to a demonic tower, then subjected to bio-experimentation and various tortures. Awakened by the power of a dark sorcerer, he destroyed several villages on the orders of the tower. He was forced to do so by force. He has a magical seal engraved around his neck, which automatically explodes when he resists. As the boy hid in the shadows, he escaped from the tower and began searching for someone to help him. He saw Trailer during a raid, and decided to make contact with him. Subsequent events. The name is well known. He was captured by the trail. The boy was able to get rid of the seal. Lorraine has no intention of healing him. The father orders the child to be taken to a room and placed under surveillance. The bastards in the tower put a seal like that on young children. But the boy managed to make it all the way there unnoticed even though he had a magical seal engraved on him. By nature his powers are excellent. That's why he was able to escape without being caught in a tracking spell. His father had ordered that the boy be made Serena's bodyguard. Sitting next to the boy, he didn't want history to repeat itself with his daughter, so he wanted to kill the boy before it was too late. But at one point he noticed the boy starting to cry, begging the forgiveness of his mother and father. The brothers sat on the bed discussing the situation. Lorraine was sure that his father had been put under a curse, but Theo, who had sat with him the whole time, saw no sign of it, though her father's decision was quite logical. There is an outsider in the imperial palace. But for Theo as the eldest son there is a great responsibility, so he must look after Serena. The next day Lorraine sat opposite the boy and asked the boy that he was now in the imperial palace, so he needed to behave appropriately. Now he would tell him about his daily routine. In the morning he would practice swordsmanship under the guidance of the third prince. During the rest of the day he will attend to learning academics and etiquette. At night he will investigate curse elimination abilities. All this he will do in order to protect the man in the future. In return for staying here, he will have to become a shield for one child. He has no right to refuse, but the boys are not going to refuse, and we just wondered who the person he will have to protect is. The boy will have to suffer until he is unconscious to be so said as to be worthy of being near his little sister. If he suddenly dares to do something ridiculous, he will not die, only lose both his arms and just live out his life in agony. So the boy warned the boy to be a good boy. As soon as the punishment of the trail was over, he would begin training, but until then he needed to build up his strength. A safe place where the boy won't have to starve or kill anyone even if he is used and thrown away. It would be done to protect someone. Well, he is fine with that. After the third brother's punishment was over, if they both don't want to die with the boy then they need to try their best. The boy writhed like Jan. For a start they ran in circles. The boy was very good at running and the feeling from the fighting style he saw that day was strange. Starting with temperament, different from other dark sorcerers. With such a fast rate of skill development, he could become a very dangerous man. The boy thought he had better get rid of the boy, for why should he train a dark sorcerer? But at one point the boy was distracted by Serena. And the boy finally saw who he needed to protect. The girl missed her brother, as expected by the girl, and she was the only one on her brother's side. He was very happy about it. The girl asked why that boy was here. She was afraid that the boy would be kept under lock and key. Even though training was important, he must not forget to eat, because the food here was very good. Serena wished the boy good luck. The brother was angry with the boy as his sister was an angel towards him. So from now on, the boy was in for one hell of a workout. The girl wonders if she did the right thing when she went to see the training. And it seems that the kid and his brother also got along well with each other, she thought, though she was frightened when her brother called him a dark sorcerer. But the looks that surrounded that child were far more frightening. Today he stood alone against such hate-filled stares, which made the situation in some way similar to hers. Well, thought the girl, next time she should try to get close to him and talk to him. The father lifted the girl up and asked what she was thinking about so seriously. She told him that she had been thinking about the books she had read earlier. After so much time they finally enjoyed a tea ceremony with her father. Suddenly Duke Jan appeared. He was very pleased to see the two of them together. Standing next to him were his two children who had been given permission by the princess to bring their children along today. The girl was very happy to see her peers. For the first time, she was a little frightened. She thanked them for coming to meet her. Fox was wearing a mask. A few hours before she and her father were going to go to the princess, her father did not want to take the girl with him because she was behaving inappropriately. But the girl begged her father strongly, and so he thought of putting a mask on her so she could not say anything. Serena thought they had the same wonderful relationship she had with her brothers. The leaves seemed a little uncomfortable because of the mask. The girl went with the children to show the imperial garden. After all, she really likes the place. The men began a dialogue about Hertz being too often mistaken, making excuses for not knowing. After all, he didn't come to the imperial palace because of the children. He is here about that child who was recently captured. The emperor suggested we go elsewhere as there are too many ears to hear unnecessary information. Serena asked the girl to take off her mask. Here they could talk, but the girl could not take off her mask as she would lose the argument with her father. But then Serena said it was an order. She wanted to hear the beautiful voice of Lady Fox. The princess was her savior, and before that wonderful fine, even if now she dies on the spot, she is quite happy with that. The boy touched Serena's hair. He too wanted very much to see the princess. He apologized for his momentary tactlessness. Order means obedience. The higher the position, the greater the power encapsulated in the words. After all, she too was a member of the imperial family. The boy never knew what he was hoping for. He said he wanted to hear the beautiful voice of the Fox Lady. So here they can relax completely. She is not trying to limit anyone with her actions, on the contrary, she is trying to take care of people around her. That's the kind of person she is. He would like to get close to her. He approached the princess and apologized for his fleeting tactlessness. He approached her and told her that Helena was undone. The girl seemed to think that Sir Jay was shining like jewels, and the girl casually said out loud that he was handsome. The boy asked again, but at that moment the girl immediately moved away from him. She turned to the fox saying that it was her favorite dessert, and the woman replied that since it was the princess's favorite dessert, she had to have it. And the woman ate the whole thing almost immediately. The boy told the fox that she had to observe the norms of decency. The girl was worried about the fox and said that if she ate like that she would get indigestion. But you replied that she has a pretty strong stomach, so she'll be fine. The boy wanted to see her more often, but he didn't know if it would be too much of a burden for the princess. The action carried over to the end of the girl. The man told him that no one would disturb them there, and he asked why he had restored the empress body to its original state. The death covenant clearly stated that the body had to be cremated. The empress was the first to break her promises. The girl's father said it was best to close the matter, and asked to say how his wife's outing went. The man replied that according to his wife she had not been able to see the scenery she wished to see, but that child's words to the dark sorcerer proved to be absolutely true. One of the magical tower's explorers had been captured. The captured boy begged to be killed, but the girl replied that she would in no way do that and asked if she had told him yet. She told him to be cunning and not to disappoint her. She can hardly keep her hands off of him as it is so that she won't make a mistake that will end in his death. The girl's father asked and what the wife was able to find out. The man replied that the affairs of the Marquis of Padon and the reason why Her Majesty was hiding like she was being stalked. There was a magic tower behind it all. The man asked His Majesty to voice the truth about his hidden relationship with the magic tower. How much his wife was in direct command of the imperial family. Even the man was not aware of the needs of the case. The girl's father replied that the men knew that she came from the north and had appeared in the Eastern Empire before the start of the Northeastern War. The man confirmed that very few wizards came from the Eastern Empire at that time. In addition, the woman was born in the magical tower itself. The man had always expressed his displeasure to Ariel. Her Majesty appeared in the Eastern Empire just before the war, so he did not think she could be a spy for the enemy. Thanks to the effort, her past was known only to him, his wife. However, there is no logical explanation for the magical tower possession of Her Majesty the Empress because she was born there, although the place where Blue was born and possessed magical powers has a direct link to it. But apart from anything else, she was the next lord of the magic tower. It became clear to the man why the magic tower had behaved this way. He told the girl's father that the two of them had indeed created a cheating spouse union in heaven, but the man asked if his wife wasn't also involved in the affair. The man replied that he would please not hand over his vassals here, and asked how he was going to deal with the magical tower now. The girl's father replied that he must follow these freaks to the very end. They are not necessary for the future of the empire. The man replied that he would do the emperor's bidding. The action carries over to the protagonist. The fox said that as long as she is close to her, black tea is also sweet to her. Man, are you with the girls? Approached them. The man asked what reason Her Majesty had for refusing the place of the future lord of the magical tower. Why did I ask you? Why did he ask for a reason? The woman asked if the place of lord of the magical tower is not the most important desire of any wizard. If someone dreams of getting that place, it means they're in over their head. She does not know what it looks like outside the imperial palace for their precious crown prince, but on the outside it is a piece of bread or a flower, but it is the kindness that her heart yearns for. After all, it is the girl she has seen for the first time in her life. What a singular and radiant smile she had when she shared it with her. She was exhausted from the magic tower at the time, but this child made the world look different to her. To others it might show as something insignificant and amusing, but to her this reason was extremely important. The man re-examined this world, became a completely different world. And the woman confirmed. She asked him if he wanted to bet her that one day he would be able to give up everything for one trivial reason. But he said he was a crown prince. He doesn't know the word defeat, and she says she wants to make a wager with him. The girl says it's because he hasn't met his soul mate yet. She's sure he'll meet someone who'll steal his heart. He'd be willing to put everything on the line for her, even though he knew there would be no leniency for him. But it felt to him like he would die on the spot. He couldn't feel his legs or arms. Nevertheless, the food here was very good for him. At this point Serena approached him. She asked him how he was getting along. He replied that it was very good and asked what business she was doing here. At that moment the girl took out a dessert. The boy was surprised and asked what it was. The girl said that it was not some strange concoction, but just a dessert. If you eat something sweet when it is hard, then you will get strength, so she told him to cheer up. She said it didn't make any special difference. It was just the only thing she could do for him, and she would like him to take the dessert she had brought. The boy didn't know if he had the right to accept such a favor. The guy said he should return it after all. But at this point he fell back on the girl. He apologized and said that he had made a mistake in asking if Her Highness was all right. They were lying in a very strange posture and the boy apologized. The girl asked if she was all right or he himself. The partner kept asking if she was bruised. But the girl said she had a strong body so he didn't have to worry. More importantly, he might be hurt so she should call a doctor. But the boy told her not to pay any attention as everything was fine. At this point the girl noticed that the cake had fallen to the ground and could not be eaten. But he replied that it was nothing because he could eat it like that. The boy just wanted to put it in his mouth, but the girl tried to stop him, saying that he couldn't eat it anymore. The boy tried it and said that he was used to eating food that fell on the ground. The protagonist was very surprised because one shouldn't get used to such things. She told him that today he dare not eat food that fell on the ground. She would bring an even more delicious dessert. She said goodbye and said she would come back tomorrow. The boy asked if they could see each other again. He didn't know what he just hoped for. The girl's father saw it all. He asked how dare he do such a thing. The man told the servant not to stand there and to stay away. He kept getting nervous about the boy. Sitting in the room, the girl was picking out what she could take tomorrow and the bath, and what asked who she was talking to. And the girl said she was talking about Jana. The dessert she brought today fell down, so it was not a pretty situation. Her brother asked her why she decided to bring that asshole dessert again. To which the girl replied that he was all alone, so she was worried about him. The brother was surprised and said that he was a stranger whom she absolutely does not know, so why should she worry about such a person? But the protagonist replied that she was shown that his life was just as difficult as hers. Seeing him try his best made her want to do something for him. But the guy said he could handle his own affairs and let the girl stay out of his way. Serena asked Trail why he was acting this way. She also wants to help him somehow like her dad and brother do. The girl said she wouldn't say another word to him. As the girl ran away, he shouted after her not to leave her brother. The boy decided that the bastard had definitely put a curse on Serena, and the other brother said he thought so too. The girl asked the servant how she thought nothing else was cruel alone to the trailblazer. But the one replied that in her opinion it was not. Perhaps His Highness is a little jealous because she is too dear to him. The girl asked why he would be jealous, but the maid replied that people sometimes get hurt by the fact that they have to share their loved ones with their friends. The more lonely a person is, the more he gets upset when someone he cares for more than others. The girl realized that these were the true feelings of the trailblazer. Lying in his room, the boy did not understand what he had done wrong. He wondered if the girl expected him to be the first to apologize. At that moment there was a knock at the door and he said not to come out to him as he did not want to see anyone right now. The man at the door said that he should then tell Her Highness to go back to her chambers. At that moment a girl came into his room and brought him dessert. The girl brought it as a sign of reconciliation. She said that he was dearer to her than Jan, so she had chosen her favorite dessert for him. And asked him not to be jealous. The boy said that he loves lemon tart too, and to him she is more precious than any dessert in the world. He apologized for getting mad at her. The girl asked if that meant he wasn't angry, and the guy said yes. The boy said that since they'd already made up, they could secretly eat the dessert. And the girl agreed.